Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel once again. Today, we are making vegetable soup. There is something I want you guys to know before we proceed. The beginning of a very good and delicious vegetable soup is to make sure that you don't have too much water, especially from your meat stock. So basically, I have actually boiled my meat and then I have just little water. I want you to pay attention to the consistency of the water that will be left or the meat stock that will be left for making your soup. So what I normally do is I make sure that I cook my meat and have it as soft as possible without having too much water left to make my soup with. Because if vegetable soup is watery, guys, that is not the ideal vegetable soup. But then that will be me talking for talking's sake because I have some people in my family who doesn't like when soup is dry. But then I'm not saying the vegetable is supposed to be dry, but at least like have just a little juice in it. So I'm going to have like quite more than just juice for the sake of the people eating this food. But if I am to make this vegetable soup for me, myself, and I, it will have just a little juice, little amount of juice. Like you will hardly even notice that this soup was cooked with water. Do you understand right now? So, secondly, there is no interesting vegetable soup without crayfish. So, I try as much as possible to use enough crayfish and, of course, enough onions. Anyway, is there any meal I prepare that I don't use enough onions? I don't think so. If the onion is not enough, just know that that's not my food. I'm being honest right now. I don't know what's with me and onions, but yeah, it just have to be enough. And you might pretty much not be seeing the onions because I used to cook my onion till it is very soft. So you might not see it, but you will taste it and possibly feel it. There is this feel, the texture it gives to your soup, just like this one. Did you see that meat stock? It is actually almost thick. Another thing about vegetable soup that you don't manage is oil. There is no good vegetable soup without enough oil. I'm not saying you should make a river of oil, but it has to be enticing. Fresh pepper is one thing you will want to use. For some of you who prefer to use grinded or blended dry pepper, go ahead and do you. But my personal preference is making use of fresh pepper for my vegetable soup, most especially. I use fresh pepper for cooking a lot of other things. I mean, it is just my preference though. I prefer using fresh pepper to dry blended pepper. So, guys, once you have that, you're ready. You can decide to add, shredded pomo, but today I'm not using pomo. I have smoked catfish. Since my meat stock is properly seasoned with maggi, onions, and salt, I'll just go ahead and add the blended crayfish and pepper, give it a proper stir, and then we can move on to another thing. So while the meat is still on fire, I'd like to go ahead and steam the water leaf. This is the amount of water leaf that I'll be using, even though this water leaf to me is very small, upon measuring the amount of pumpkin or ugu that I have. Because then again, I love having a bigger quantity or a greater quantity of water leaf than the quantity of ugu or pumpkin that I'll be using. You all will be able to witness that water leaf always comes with enough liquid in it, so it is indeed what it is called. So I'd like to just pour it into an empty pot. Guys, make sure this pot is empty. Don't add water, don't add oil, just the water leaf. Place it on fire and allow it to cook on its own till the water is completely dry. This is because if you don't dry out the water, you will end up with a very watery vegetable soup, and trust me, you don't want that. At this point, please go back and check the meat stock to be sure it's doing well. You can now add your smoked fish, because then again, this soup is almost ready. Give it the proper stir. Do you see how thick it is? The consistency is perfect. But then again, I'm worried because that water leaf it might turn out very small, and if it is small, that means it's not going to give us the kind of thickness that we want. But then let's see how it goes. So let's go check up on the water leaf and see how it's doing. At this point, you just need a spoon. Open a certain area and oh my god, did you see that? There is no water. The water is completely dry at this point. But do you see my fear now? This water leaf is very small. opelompe, opelajompe. And this amount, this quantity now will not give me what I want. This thing is very small, but then what can we do? We're going to manage it. I can't go back to the market at this point, right? And at this point, you can now add your red oil. Yes, Nami Toka, add your red oil, give it a proper stir, and allow it to cook for some minutes. See, I'm very bad with calculation, so don't expect me to tell you to cook it for like 2 seconds or 3 seconds. I beg, do what works for you. Hello? Yes, that's what I said. So once the red oil is done incorporating, man, the main task is here now. That's when you incorporate the meat stock, the meat, all those properly, garnished meat stock. You can now transfer it into this pot. This pot right now that we have water leaf inside, you transfer the meat stock, the meat and everything in it in this pot, right? And allow it to cook. I cannot tell you how many minutes you should cook it though. Because me now, as I did like this, I don't think I can't do past myself. Sure, you get. As I tell you, say I no, just no say I no. You get. So as I don't turn this thing, they turn and well. It for fire they cook now. Sure, you get. The thing don't they incorporate where. So if you want to cook am for 1 minute, so you can book your own cup of tea. You get. If you want to cook am for 2 minutes, or book your own cup of tea. Sure, you get. You can make it about my own cup of tea. In our water now. So after cooking it like this, I will now add a little salt, because there was salt in the meat I cooked, right? There was Maggi and stuff, so you can now test it. Don't be like me, I'm just eyeballing the whole thing, you get, and it did not come out bad. So I added salt, and then it is time to add the almighty ugu. Welcome pumpkin. It's time for the pumpkin to actually be incorporated, and I just did that, as you can see. So what I do is I just spread it all over. Like, I did not turn it, I did not stir it. I just poured it, spread it, and then I gave it a close up. Right, I covered the pot and allowed the heat to cook the ugu. This is the one I can't tell you if it lasted for 2 seconds or, like I said, I don't know. I just covered it and allowed it to cook. As I open them now, how you see how you take the thing, everything just the menge for inside pots. Oh nah tom, oh my god. Did you notice that this vegetable is actually looking so yummy, so sumptuous? I don't know about you, right? So bring it down, baby. You don't want your ugu to cook for 500 hours. You're good to go. The perfect word to say is don't miss out on this one. If you're on my channel, you are on the right place. And wasafi, did you see? The soup is giving. It is giving what it should give. Oh my goodness. Can you see that? Oh my god, this soup is giving 10/10 plus 10 minus nothing.